I'm live right now as this video comes out, so go and check it out.
Today is a different video. As you can see, I'm looking at the This Week at Destiny, which I don't do often. And I don't care about the fucking collab. I don't care about the new seasonal artifact, maybe I do actually. I care about the ability changes. Of course, there are exotics too. The new Destiny 2 Finder, and you have new cutscenes added to our archives. Destiny 2 expansions are on sale, and except for that, there's nothing more. If you didn't know, they're doing a collab with The Witcher, and this is what the armor set looks like. Nothing crazy, nothing special. The new artifact interests me for several reasons, and 90% of them are solar. If you read here, there's one solar, solar, radiant, solar, radiant. But the ones that actually interest me is going to be Pillar of Ice and Hail of the Storm. Killing an encased combat spawns a stasis crystal, and I'm pretty sure an encased combatant, which would be a frozen target. Shattering encased targets with stasis crystals deals increased damage. Shattering a stasis crystal releases shards of ice that now damages and slows target. This seems really good, but the thing you need to remember is this one says combatant, this one don't. So I'm curious to see if the Pillar of Ice actually works in PvP. But then you have a lot of nerfs on abilities. You have the restoration, reducing healing rate of restoration, old 40, 20, and new is going to be 35 and 17.5. So they reduced it a little bit in PvP, which is interesting. And then times 2 goes from 32 to 25 in PvP. It's going to be interesting to see how it's going to, work. Devour healing amount on both activations when refreshed, reduced from full health to 100 HP unless Feed the Void is equipped, which is going to be the Warlock Void aspect. Now refills both health and shield sections more smoothly rather than adding health to each section separately. So sprint and slide melees. Sprint slide activation melees can no longer be activated after the player fires their weapon during slide. This affects the melee ability, all shoulder charges, Howl of the Storm, Consecration, Fletched Storm, Lightning Surge, and Tempest Strike. So that's actually a good change in my opinion. Tempest Strike increased base damage from 110 to 125, which is actually interesting. They're nerfing Bonk, so now you will get melee energy for 1.4 seconds rather than instant. And it increases projectile based off your strength. Banner of War now also gets nerfed. Soul Invictus even got nerfed. Reduced maximum sunspot duration from 20 to 12 seconds. And Well of Radiance and Ward of Dawn has now gotten the shutdown super duration rather than the stationary super duration, which is going to mean you don't see it as fast as you usually do, but you're still going to see it a lot because it's still the best super for something like Trials. Now this is the part that really makes me interested. Whisper of Hedrons got the removed strength penalty, which is actually a really good stasis fragment. Dramatically increased weapon stability, weapon aim assist, weapon airborne effectiveness, mobility, resilience, and recovery after freezing a target with stasis. This is actually a really interesting change because I think more people are going to use it now. And on top of that, this is a really good stasis fragment for warlocks in particular. Now Titans do have ways to freeze people, and I'll come back to that later. Whisper of Impetus now provides 10 resilience. And Whisper of Impetus, damaging a target with a stasis melee, reloads your stowed weapons and grant you a temporary boost to ready speed. This will be a stasis fragment I will use because I hit people all the time with Shiver Strike. And getting increased stow speed is going to be really good. On top of that, it reloads my weapons. And I can already tell you one thing right now, that's one big problem with Stasis, or at least Shiver Strike. A lot of the time, I can't pull out my shotgun in time to be able to finish him off with it, and I die. Whisper of Shards no longer provides 10 resilience, and Shards is a really good one. Shattering a Stasis Crystal temporarily boosts your grenade recharge rate. Shattering additional crystals increase the duration of this benefit. It's probably one of the best stasis fragments out there. It keeps your stasis uptime and it also works on players. Whisper of Hunger stat penalty changed from -10 mobility, -10 intellect to now -20 strength, which has increased the melee energy gained from picking up stasis shard, which makes sense. I don't see why you lose mobility and recovery for this one, but at least they changed it. Whisper of Bonds removed the -10 discipline penalty. And Whisper of Bonds is one of the odds one because it gives you -10 intellect and -10 discipline, when it should really just give you -10 intellect at most. Defeating a frozen target generates an orb of power. For hunters, they're buffing the melee, increase projectile speed by 10%, increase maximum projectile lifetime by 10%, increase the maximum bounce count from 2 to 3, increase tracking consistency. Which means it's probably going to look a lot more like it did when Beyond Light released, and people were complaining about it, so they nerfed it. Winter Shroud got a buff in PvE, which is pretty good. Now, where Titans are coming in, this is where I'm getting excited, because they removed a lot of these things back in the day, like you see removed on hotfix this. Shiver Strike now slows players on hit, a behavior that was previously removed. Fixed an issue where Shiver Strike would not function with melee kickstart armor mod. This is the one I've been begging for. Now freezes nearby players on cast, a behavior previously removed in the past. On cast, impulse size versus players has been reduced from 8 to 6 meters, which is fair enough. It was really dumb. This works through walls, by the way, which people don't realize. Hollow the Storm fixed an issue where Hollow the Storm was not consistently freezing targets in contact with the created stasis crystals, which is pretty good. I don't think I'm going to use it though. I'm probably going to stick with Cryo Slide and the Toothpick, but I do indeed like what I see. It means my abilities are going to be much more potent now in PvP, but I'm not done yet. Frost Pulse significantly increased consistency against fast-moving targets. This change involved reworking how the ability applies freeze to target, reduced the latency between when the ability is activated and when the target is actually frozen. So you freeze faster now on hit. Penumbral Blast increased detonation size when impacting environment from 1.5 meters to 2 meters. Now the grenades look really good. Glacier Grenade reduced cooldown from 152 seconds to 121 seconds, which is a 30-second change. That's big. The cooldown penalties for Duskfield and Cold Snap when Bleak Watcher is equipped also has been updated, so their cooldown matches the new Glacier Grenade cooldown. Cold Snap fixed an issue where the Seeker was not consistently created in the direction the projectile was moving after bounce. Increased arming shape size from 0.9 to 1.4 meters. Tracking strength now ramps down from full strength to 0 over the course of the grenade's lifetime, rather than immediately turning off the Seeker after it's reached its lifetime. This is a buff in general. This is a pretty interesting buff because Cold Snapper is going to be much more rampant and strong in PvP, and you're going to see a lot of people complain about this next season. They're not buffing Duskfields because they are already really strong and from just enough. Freeze. Increase special ammo weapon bonus damage from frozen targets from 5% to 10%, which isn't really a big change, but you know, it's something. Additionally, tuning changes and reworks to existing stasis fragments, adding additional behavior to harvest aspects. This is going to be interesting to see, I can't even lie, because all of these might be really dumb, especially the harvest aspects in general on the fragment changes. And then on top of that, you have the changes. There's a lot of them that I don't really care about. I'm just going to go over the ones I actually do care about and the ones I might find interesting. The Stompy changed, removed requirement to have full class ability energy to benefit from the movement bonuses, reduced the airborne lateral acceleration bonus, which means you're not going to go as far as you are at the moment. Now provides damage resistance against combatants while airborne, which means this will not amplify in PvP. Mechaneer's Trick Sleeve also has some. Sidearm damage bonus now persists for 5 seconds after your shield begins to recharge. Sidearm kills extends the damage duration by 3 seconds and completely reloads your sidearm from reverse. The damage bonuses has been reduced in PvP to compensate for it lasting longer. Now is at 10%, down from 35. That is a really big change because 35 made it really strong. But that is just the damages. It still gives you all the other buffs that it used to, so it's not that crazy. Celestial Nighthawk. Precision kills now grants you super energy ranging between 1.5 and 4.5 depending on the target killed, which makes me curious on how this is going to work on supers instead of PvP, if you're going to be able to get them a lot faster now, which I'm guessing you will. But this will probably not be used in trials or anything like that, mainly in sixes to get you super faster from everything I can guess. This one is scaring me a lot. Severance Enclosure. Increase the size and damage of the explosion. Kills with the exotic's explosion now trigger additional explosion. I don't think you understand what this exotic can do if this is what I'm reading. If it can one-shot people instead of PvP, you're gonna see some insane fucking just chain reactions, I guess. Peregrine Greaves, you now have to be airborne for a brief time before the exotic applies its effect. Damaging champions, tormentors with the shoulder charge increase the further damage and refunds the melee energy. Also, Synthoceps, another big one, removes the extended melee lunge distance, now improves weapon handling and reload speed while surrounded, which will be 3 enemies. Also interesting, Precious Scars, kills with weapons matching your subclass now applies Restoration Tier 1, which will probably be able to build into something like Solar Fragments, which will give you further restoration. That's what I'm guessing. Okay, I'm saying this right now. This might be really, really crazy. So you know how the Warlock gloves, if I can show it in game here. Just hear me out on this one. Think about it for this. This exotic is currently not really used. For good reasons. I don't even know how to pronounce it, and I'm not gonna Wrathweavers. But your Winter's Wrath Shockwave deals increased damage. Allies in your range of Shockwave gain an overshield and increased damage to Stasis weapons. That's only when you have Winter's Wrath active. But one of the best weapons right now in the game is going to be Unending Tempest, which is a Stasis weapon. If people put on one Bubble Titan, a Stasis Warlock, with these arms, hear me out. Hear me out. It doesn't say avoid overshield. Now, you can place on your barricade, which will give you 40 HP, so that gets you up to 241 HP. They also gain a 50 HP overshield from you casting your Rift. A Frostpulse Rift will give you 291 HP. On top of that, you get a tier 2 Stasis Surge on weapons for 5 seconds. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. That sounds really good. You get, for just placing a Freeze Rift, you get Stasis Weapon Surge times 2. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but if you put on an Empowering Rift, Void Overshield, Weapon Surge, which you get from the Rift, you now have a 0.6 TTK and a 0.8 Body Shot. This is of course with Gut Shot, which is going to change it drastically. But correct me if I'm wrong, but people aren't smart enough to use this, but you get my point. I'm just saying, watch out next season. If you see me with a Bubble Titan and a Stasis Warlock, you know what I'm up to. You know what I'm up to. Okay, I was worried for a second. Karnstein's melee kills now gives you Cure Tier 3 for 8 seconds and Restoration times 1. Now, I was worried because this sounds like a buff now rather than a nerf. Because what I was thinking was, it's not going to help you at all whatsoever. But Cure times 3, which I don't actually know how much it is, sounds like it's going to make the exotic better. And I was a big fan of Karnstein's back in the day. That was my main exotic until I started using Ophidian Aspect, of course. But you get my point. I was kind of scared for a sec, but, you know, it looks to be good and actually really good buff. And of course, you can't forget about all the armor changes. I don't think a lot of these are gonna matter for me. And the orb mods now is a 10-second cooldown on them in PvP, so you need to remember that if you're trying to mass make orbs, which is gonna be barely possible, but you get my point. Kickstarts got nerfed. Momentum Transfer got nerfed. Outreach and Bomber got nerfed. And overall, they nerfed most mods because we were way too powerful, and we all know this, but it's all that really matters. Some emblems, some other stuff, nothing too special, nothing too crazy. But let's just say, when this next season drop, you better tune into my stream, because we'll be doing a little bit of testing, because I'm quite excited for this. I've been waiting for so long to be able to embrace this moment that's upon us. The Stasis meta is back, boys.